Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So we have really great news to share in today's update, which we've actually had a lot of great news lately, which is the really great thing, thankfully. And it's really, I guess, to start is that there are now officially 6 states that have filed a lawsuit, or there's one that's technically pretty much about to file a lawsuit. So they have everything ready, they have the papers, they just have to physically put in. This 6th state that we recently received word is a huge congrats to Florida. So Florida has now officially spoken that they will be putting a lawsuit, and it's very possible that by the time you're watching this, they might have already made the lawsuit official because it's already in the works. They already have the lawyer, they already have the support. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they are now hoping to actually file 2 lawsuits, very similar actually to a lot of the other states. I believe Indiana filed 2 lawsuits, I believe Maryland filed 2 lawsuits, and now Florida is on the verge of pretty much filing 2 lawsuits. I think Oklahoma even just filed a 2nd lawsuit as well. If I remember correctly, they filed 1 lawsuit, and I think there was another group of people that were trying to file a 2nd lawsuit. Of course, that's currently in the works, or might have even already been official by the time you're watching this. So as of the time that I'm making this video, the really great news is there are now essentially 6 states. I believe it started with Indiana. If you guys have been following for a while, it started with Indiana. I believe then it went to Maryland, then I believe Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma, and now officially Florida. There are petitions and things that are happening in the other states, but we haven't received any kind of official word yet, so that is something to maybe be on alert for. Maybe if you do happen to be in a state that hasn't filed, or maybe that has filed a lawsuit, and if you have any particular information about anything, feel free to maybe consider sharing them, because I'm sure a lot of other people would probably love to be able to know as well. And also, the more support, the better, after all, which I think is probably what most people want at the end of the day. But in today's update, I pretty much just want to talk about everything that's been going on. I also just want to do pretty much some touch-ups to really just share certain information, to kind of just insert, to cover a little bit of everything, because we do have a lot of news going on, such as about the unemployment taxes, about certain things about other states. We don't have information from every single state. There are still some states that are admittedly silent, but hopefully if we hear what's going on in the other states that actually do have information, maybe that can potentially be some sort of inspiration for what the other states can potentially follow through as well. So with that being said, we're going to get right to it, but as always, maybe real fast before we begin, consider smashing the like button because it is great news and it's always greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos like this. I'll put other videos at the very end that covers all sorts of other topics with unemployment and maybe also other general finance topics as well. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or honestly just really anything. Always great to say hi to new and familiar faces. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So pretty much as mentioned is that at this current time, there are now officially 6 states that either already have a lawsuit or are basically on the verge of writing and putting together their lawsuit. The 6th state, as we mentioned, happens to be Florida. We listed the states already. I do know in Oklahoma, interestingly, that had their lawsuit, or that recently also just opened their lawsuit. There's talks now, I believe, is that there is now another group of lawyers, or rather a lawyer with another group of people that are now trying to open a 2nd lawsuit to hopefully try to better confirm the situation of what's happening right now. A maybe huge recap to the last couple of episodes, because it is, I guess you can say today is technically a little bit of a continuation, but in one of the episodes, all of these which I'll put at the very end, we talked a little bit about what's going on in a lot of the states, and then I believe in the previous video, I believe it's literally just called When It Will Come Retroactive, but the idea is that we really just talked about how the most important thing at this current time, after we've now officially received word from the Biden administration that they're open to restarting it in the states that are able to open lawsuits, the most important thing right now in a lot of the different states is that they're able to open their lawsuit. Winning the lawsuit is actually another story, but if they're able to even open up the case, the goal is that by opening up the case, they can potentially freeze it and halt it so that people can continue or bring back the unemployment, and hopefully if they're able to sink the clock essentially, or just simply prolong the case to keep it actively open, or maybe even win the case. just totally win the case. But as long as essentially if they're either able to win the case or to just keep the case active all the way until the unemployment program is actually supposed to expire, which is literally 2 months away, as crazy as it is, that's how we can potentially, hopefully, get the unemployment to return. But of course, we talked all about that in the last episode called When Will It Come Back Retroactive, which once again I'll put at the end screen. But the only updates beyond that is that right now in Texas and Ohio, and I only mention that because I know there's a lot of people from there, we actually have not really received a lot of news or word from those two states yet. But I do believe what's going on right now, just from a lot of word of mouth, is that their hearing is coming up really, really soon. I believe is that the hearing for Texas and Ohio is going to be planned for something maybe around the very, very end of next week. If you happen to be from there, you probably actually know a little bit better, because a lot of this news is actually really only being spoken on local news instead of just totally global federal news. So feel free to maybe share it if you have any particular information, because I think a lot of people would really appreciate it as well. I know the unemployment numbers actually recently did just come out, and I believe in this recent 1 week, I believe about like 300 something thousand people filed for unemployment. And again, we always share these numbers. The huge significance of this is because a lot of these numbers are going to be used for a lot of the arguments for what they actually end up doing with the unemployment going forward, whether they continue it, whether they halt it. And these numbers were actually what a lot of the politicians used to actually end unemployment when they actually decided. It was largely because of what happened. But I believe at this time it was reported that there's about maybe a little bit under 14 million, I think about 13.8 million people still actively unemployed in some way, shape, because some people are just partially unemployed. I do believe that in the recent jobs report that just came out is that they did add about 850,000 jobs. I think the big thing right now that we've kind of talked about is that they are adding a lot of jobs, but there is still a little bit of a discrepancy between not just specifically how many jobs, but the actual specific jobs. Because keep in mind is that even if you have 1 million jobs, it does not mean that you can just fill 1 million jobs just by having 1 million people. Every single person has a skill set at the end of the day. So for example, you maybe have an opening for 100,000 doctors, and again, just throwing it out as just a random number, but if you really only have 20,000 people that are qualified to be a doctor, it's going to be tough. Similarly, you may have a case where there's maybe 100,000 waitresses or waiters, but you have 200,000 people trying to find a job. So keep in mind is that the numbers don't always equally match, but that's pretty much where we stand with the unemployment numbers at this particular current time. I think beyond that is we do actually have recent information about the unemployment taxes. So this is another great news, is that according to the IRS, they've released information that this week, which technically is about to end pretty much more or less, but pretty much by the end of this week, they're hoping to finally deliver about 4 million unemployment tax refunds to people that are owed some kind of refund that were taxed originally in their unemployment program. We talked a lot more about the unemployment taxes in another previous video. I believe that video is literally just called Fifth Wave of Deliveries, which once again, it'll be right at the end screen. We talk all about the details about how the unemployment tax works, where they currently stand. But the big note is that we've recently received even more word that this week, by the end, they're hoping to send it for 4 million people. It maybe will take a couple of days to settle into the bank. Sometimes they're just delayed for reasons. So if you haven't received it, I'd give maybe sometime, hopefully by something in the early part of next week. But maybe feel free to comment, if you guys have any information, or if you guys did or maybe didn't receive your unemployment taxes this particular week, if you were someone that's still waiting, because I think a lot of other people, as mentioned, would love to hear it as well. But beyond that is just the really, really great news to take away is that we are now starting to see lawsuits. It is definitely looking promising. Indiana has officially declared that they will be reinstating the unemployment super soon, with the assumption, again, everything stays on schedule and they stay true to their word. And it's definitely looking promising, certainly in most states. There are still certain political tensions in certain states, admittedly. For example, I know there is something going on in Texas, but I think certainly especially in the majority of the states that do have a lawsuit or that are hoping to open a lawsuit soon, it is looking to be in favor of the people. So pretty much us, which is the really, really great news. But of course, we really just have to stay tuned to basically see what actually physically happens. Hopefully something in the coming days. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed that, maybe consider smashing the like button. If you guys haven't done that, consider subscribing for similar videos like this and also other finance topics. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or information about honestly really anything at all. If you are watching this on release date, have a great, incredible weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.